All right. This is it. The moment you've been waiting for. Are you ready?
As ready as I'll ever be.
I was born ready, mate.
Remember, you have to make an impression right from the start. Get to high ground if you can, like Obi-Wan Kenobi, and stay together as long as possible. You understand?
Stay together. Got it.
What about cornucopia? Should we just try and get supplies?
No, it's too dangerous. Get out of there as fast as you can. Head for water and try to find shelter.
And if we get separated?
If you get separated, keep moving. Find a place to hide and stay there. Don't try to be a hero.
Stick to the plan.
You two have a real shot. Remember what I told you about the audience. Play to them. They're your lifeline.
Thank you, Hamish, for everything.
Just stay alive. Both of you.
I'll see you on the other side, brother.
See you there.
Good luck, kids. I said to whisper the last bit, so.
Well, I'll be expecting our Oscars any day now.
Anyway, as you could probably guess from that intro, that we are going to be reviewing the first Hunger Games film. So I'm Colin, going by the screen name of my favourite character, Hamish. I'm joined by my co-host James, who must also like Hamish because he's Big Mitch. And we also have Marie, and I'm not sure what character she's representing.
Yeah, I had no idea you guys were doing this. I mean, I do have braids in my hair, but that was a complete accident.
We'll count that then. So yeah, anyway, we've got Marie from Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, which I always like to double check to make sure I get it right. So
as long as you don't forget the reusable, you're grand.
Yes. So thank you for coming on again after coming on for Shaun of the Dead in the past, which was a lot of fun. Do you want to start just by giving a wee pitch to your podcast?
Yeah, I always do such a terrible job at this. So as mentioned, yeah, I've got a podcast called Two Girls, One Reusable Cup, and it's all about living a low-waste lifestyle in your 20s. So if you want to learn how to prevent a future like Pan Am, follow us. We share tips and tricks. We do deep dives on different companies such as Shein. And we also cover topics such as smartphones. We did one about palm oil recently. So every I'm not going to say every week because it's very inconsistent. Every episode, we pick a topic that we are interested in and want to learn more about. And the idea is, how can we as consumers do the best for people and planet?
Well, you've definitely got a much clearer social goal than we have anyway. So yeah, so definitely make sure you check them out and subscribe to them. Just a wee bit of background for us. You can find Seismic Cinema on Facebook, X, Instagram, Threads, and TikTok. We've recently done away with our Seismic Soccer pages. We're going to keep doing the football episodes, but we're just going to do it all under the one page. We have a Buy Me a Coffee page, and our friend Gary, who does our Seismic Soccer episodes, is looking for some help to buy a mic. So if you're wanting to donate to the page, then you can do so there. And we are part of the PodPack collective, as is Marie. So we're part of a group of like-minded podcasters who want to make a difference in the podcasting community. So that's the kind of that bit done. So just wanted to start off. Well, actually, I'll change my mind on that. Just going to start off with a wee overview of the Hunger Games for anyone who has not watched it, which was James up till recently. So the kind of overview is, as a punishment for a past rebellion, one boy and one girl between the ages of 12 and 18 are selected randomly to participate in the annual Hunger Games. Participants must fight to the death in an arena, and the sole survivors get fame and wealth. So that's just the overview of the movie. So we'll start with you, Marie. Then, so you expressed an interest in coming on to talk about Hunger Games on X. So, what's your
Just call it Twitter.
background? Aye, we we tend to jump between the two. So you expressed an interest on Twitter. So what's your background with the Hunger Games series in terms of the books, the movies, and kind of when did you first watch it or read it or etc.?
Yeah, I read this and watched it when I was like right the target demographic. So I was thinking about it. I cannot remember if I saw the first movie first and then read the books or the other way around. But I did get interested in the books when the movie started to come out, and I'm not sure if I've only saw the trailer before I read the books or if the movie was already out. And then so yeah. And young adult has always been my bread and butter. I love young adult books, even now as a not so young adult. It's still my comfort series. And then last year, on one of the many Insomniac nights that I had, I noticed that my library had the audiobooks. So I like borrowed them and I thought, okay, I'm struggling to fall asleep. I'll just like listen to the first hour. And I think I listened to like almost the entirety of the book. It was like 5 a.m. by the time I went to bed. And then I slept for like a few hours and then like started again. And then I did the whole thing where I would read a book, watch a movie, read a book and watch the movie. And it was really interesting going back to the franchise as an adult and having lived and all the things that you would find romantic as a teenager, you don't find as romantic as an adult anymore, and you kind of gain a bit of perspective. But I wouldn't say like I'm a diehard fan of the series. There's certainly other battle royale stories that I prefer, like that have that kind of format. I actually went on a bit of a battle royale binge last year. I read so many books, which I like the young adult kids killing teens. I don't know what that says about me, but but the Hunger Games franchise does hold a lot of nostalgia.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing. Obviously, we'll get into some of those points more as time goes on. So, James, what's your background with the series?
My background is I watched it last night and it was no, listen, I know that the books exist. I know that the films have existed as well. Do you know what I mean? I know that they've been out for a long time. I don't know if I've been put off by this, not seen it for a while, because, well, for me, I've always kind of avoided it because of the fact that it's like it's like Running Man versus Battle Royale, and I love those two films. And it just seemed like a kind of knockoff of it. And I've always been put off by that aspect of it, to be honest with you. There's a lot of other films that kind of quite similar to that in terms of why I don't watch them, because they're maybe a remake that should never been remade or whatever. Do you know what I mean? So I've just never watched this film or series of films because of that. I won't give too much away just now, man, but I watched it last night, and I did it for the pod. That's commitment to you. I've given my all, my 100% commitment to this podcast. You can't deny that. That's
all we can ask, and it's the same for me. There's films we've done. See, like Terminator. They're not really made. I suppose I wasn't actually on that one, but still, there's films like I'm not a big action movie guy, and I've watched quite a few and discussed them for the podcast. So yeah, I get where you're coming from, but I think we'll have a range of different perspectives. I watched this, I think maybe roundabout when it came out. I watched it on either a DVD or on the telly, and I really enjoyed it. So I was in my early 20s, so I was probably right in that kind of. James has ran away now. I was probably I was probably right in that demographic as well. And as I do, I get quite into things. So I then went and read the 3 books. James is back. Enjoy your trip.
I just had to put a cushion under my laptop.
Well, I was just saying, I watched it around maybe the year or the year after it came out. Really enjoyed it. I was early 20s, so I think a lot of movies, the age you see them, can have a big impact on your enjoyment as well. And then I read the 3 books. The second book's my favourite, Catching Fire.
Oh.
And it's not really a spoiler for
I've got
this.
opinions on that one, but we're focusing on the first one for now.
Yeah, we could talk about that later on. And it's not really a spoiler for this one, but the second movie's always been my favourite, personally, which might kind of tie into what we talk about here. And as a franchise, my wife likes it as well. It's one we kind of revisit. I usually watch the first 2 and don't really bother with the third and fourth as much. They were split into like 2 parts, like the Harry Potter films were. It's just one book that was split up.
It doesn't make sense because it's such a short book.
I
I hated that trend in like the mid 2000s. Twilight did it too.
I don't revisit the third and fourth one as much, but I definitely revisit this one and the second one. And just last year, they brought out a prequel, the Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes, which isn't a particularly catchy title, but I watched it. I bought it on DVD a couple of weeks ago, and I watched it. Quite enjoyed it, and I'm actually reading the book that it's based on. So there's a prequel book and then a kind of trilogy of books. So it's not quite up at kind of Star Wars, Harry Potter levels with me, but it's one of my kind of secondary franchises that I personally quite enjoy. Might not be James's cup of tea per se, but it's one that I've enjoyed in terms of the characters and the kind of world building, etc. But we can obviously get more into that as we go along. Right, before we get into the main review, just want to share the usual kind of pre-game information. So this came out on the 23rd of March 2012, and I'm totally not reading this off my whiteboard. 12 years ago. It was directed by Gary Ross, who I must admit I've never heard of, apart from directing this. The screenplay was done by Gary Ross, Suzanne Collins, the author of the books, and someone called Billy Ray. The budget was $78 million, and it made over $694 million at the box office, so did pretty well. It's got a 7.2 rating on IMDb, which is decent.
Fair.
I would say.
Yeah.
I would expect Catching Fire to be higher. I've not actually checked it, to be fair. It's got an 84% on Rotten Tomatoes or Tomatoes, whatever way you want to say it, and it's got a 68% on Metacritic, so the kind of critic score, which is a bit lower. The cast is Jennifer Lawrence, one of the biggest in Hollywood today. Josh Hutcherson, who I don't think Marie likes, or do you like? Was it you that defended him?
No, I like it. I'm a defender. Yeah, we can get into the character assassination later.
We've got the younger Thor's younger brother, Liam Hemsworth. We've got Woody Harrelson, Elizabeth Banks, Donald Sutherland, who we sadly lost quite recently, and Lenny Kravitz as well. So it's actually quite a star-studded cast. Some really recognizable names in there. So that's a good opportunity just to share a couple of comments from Twitter, of which Marie was involved. But the first comment actually came from James, who said, "I've not seen this, but it reeks of the Running Man versus Battle Royale, and I'm a bit skeptical." I'm going to be honest, James, it won't majorly surprise you, but I've not seen either of those. Maybe it's worth me checking those out. So I didn't have any of those kind of preconceptions that maybe you had. And then We Needed Roads podcast said the books were always stronger than the films. Lawrence is excellent, but Josh Hutcherson's Peter was so crap throughout. It also felt like a watered down version of Battle Royale, which is what James said. Again, I've got no experience of that, so I can't really comment. Marie then jumped in to say, I'm going to defend Josh because he did a character assassination when it came to Peter in the films. He did not have a lot to work with. We Needed Rhodes said they agree he was better in the books, but he'll forever be Rock Guy to me. Although he did have a sense of humor about the role and was hilarious in Future Man. And then Marie had the last comment. It was a reply to a previous comment which said, "Oh, good Lord, the shaky cam," which is something we can touch on. Marie liked the costumes when it first
Yep.
came out, but now thinks they are so early 2000s. When I was a
Mhm.
teen, I much preferred the movie over the book, but when I did a reread slash watch, it was the other way around. So you preferred the books to the movies now?
Yeah. I thought the movies were stronger than the books, and then like when I read them and as an adult, I think it is because the movies are very like 2010s, like especially the first one. Like even when I watched it back, I like as I said because like I work in fashion, my background's fashion. So like seeing this, I was just like, oh, this is what we thought future clothing looked like. Oh no. Other than Effie Trinket, because like they nailed her because they have her in Alexander McQueen. That is just like there's a look in the second one that I so desperately want to cosplay. But all the other ones, like the people in the Capitol, it's just it's very early 2000s, and I think that really dates the movie. Maybe just for me because like obviously I know fashion, so um but yeah, it's weird because I had like a completely different reaction to these two things as an adult than I was a teenager. But it's because like I think as a teen you don't realize how brutal the books actually are, like because they're written quite they're written well. Suzanne Collins is an amazing writer, but I don't know, it's like the majority of it is kind of in subtext, like because it's still a young adult, it's still geared towards a young adult audience, and then when you're an adult and you have this perspective, you're like, oh shit, like this is horrible. But yeah, and then the shaky cam. I mean, I think that was a trend during that time as well, and it's something that I didn't think was that bad when I first saw it, and then once again seeing it, I was just like, oh, the camera does not stay still 1 second.
It does change. It's lesser in the sequel because
Yeah,
I just watched that last night as well.
they fixed it. Yeah, they fixed it in the sequel, and I think that was a great opportunity to fix it in the sequel because it's practically the same story. I have opinions about the sequel, but so I
I can
think,
tell.
yeah, if you're doing the sequel, invite me back. But but yeah, for the first one, it's like the shaky cam, and then like the color grading is so bad. Like the final battle scene, like you can't see anything like that's happening. It's just noises, and like you hear the characters, but it's just awful. Um
Right, so I don't know if I want to ask James's opinion yet, but we'll go for it. James, have you got any particular comments on the clothing of the residents of the capital? I don't know how clued up you are in fashion, or the shaky cam. No straying, just specifically those two things.
Right. I've got no opinion on the fashion. You know, I've got limited knowledge about fashion. As it
Are you like
is,
me, football strips and shorts when you're not working?
shorts, joggies. It's no particular. You know, no Alexander McQueen stuff anyway. Regarding the shaky cam, but I think you're right, Maria. It was a bit of a trend. I think the Blair Witch Project was out around about that time as well, and in some ways, I understand because I like that sense of disorientation. I do like it, but it can be overused, and I think it did get overused in this film to a degree. But I do like it. But I think the less is more approach is probably better because we already know what's going on in the film without having it kind of as if we're there all the time. Do you know what I mean? So I do think it's a bit of a bad thing because of the overuse of it. But I do like it from time to time. There's loads of films I watched, I've seen before that have used it, but not as in great detail. And I think it's important for the viewer to feel immersed in some of the content, but then it just gets quite boring quite quickly, I think.
Yeah, it was a lot more glaring for me this time round, I must admit, the shaky cam. Maybe it's because doing the podcast, you're dissecting films a lot more, and obviously that's just how I always remember the film being. But there were times where it was actually making me feel a bit dizzy, and I had to kind of catch myself. But I do agree, it does make it quite visceral and it really makes you kind of feel like you're experiencing it, and because it is such a traumatic experience for the characters, and when I was at that kind of age, again, it did make you feel like that. So it's good to get your take on that. We're talking about the cast. Some quite big names in there, both kind of newcomers at the time that went on to become bigger names, like Jennifer Lawrence. This was her kind of breakthrough role, but also some kind of huge names. Maria, we'll come back to yourself. So you're a defender of Josh Hutcherson, who's kind of a wee bit maligned in the role.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen him in like interviews and other stuff, and he's extremely charismatic, which PETA actually is. Like in the books, that is his charm. He's extremely charismatic. And they just like completely like gutted that in the movie. And I hated it so much. And also like PETA is also very smart, and they took that away as well. Like the only in general, I think the cast was like I think it's well cast, although like he does do a great job, and I think I know why they made this decision, but Snow's casting and Snow's appearance does not reflect the one of the books. And I do think the reason for this is because in the books he is described quite snake-like, and I think they were worried that he would look like too much like Voldemort. But Donald Sutherland, he just looks like Santa Claus. Like it's I think he has more like in the second and third, because we actually have scenes with him more. In the first one, he is more like just a background character.
Yeah.
He's more just there, and I don't think he had the impact of this like massive tyrant. Like Snow is someone, like especially Katniss as the series goes by, like she gets severe PTSD from this guy because he is just so intimidating. But he just looks like someone's grandpa. Like
Well, he is. He's got a granddaughter in the second one, does he not?
I mean, he does, but
Spoilers.
Spoilers, he's not really in it a lot, Donald Sutherland, on
yeah.
kind of reflection, is he?
No, I mean, Snow is not really in it either. It's more like he is just like the president or the king
puppet
of
master.
Yeah, of Panem, and like he's meant to be this like figure, and I don't know, it's just the casting never I think the second time around I was more accustomed to it, but like I still remember when it first came out, I really did not like the casting.
It's interesting as well because as I said, I watched the prequel movie recently, and I find it really difficult to picture Donald Sutherland as an older version of Snow from that film.
I think that's one of the reasons that I skipped the prequels. I didn't watch the movie, even though the trailer did intrigue me, but I read the book because I don't want to feel sorry for Snow, and I don't care if they made him really hot. Like I don't want to feel sorry for this guy. Like he is evil. He is just no. I don't like.
It wasn't a perfect film, but it was good seeing like the Hunger Games back in its kind of infancy and before it was as high tech as it is now. Maybe worth checking out. So, James, is there? Let's keep it a wee bit of balance. So, is there one performance you liked and one you weren't as fond of that come to mind?
Well, I think I've not read the books, obviously, so I don't know in contrast. But I do think for Peter, who is one of the main characters, I do think he was undersold a little bit. Just because I think the full focus was on Katniss, and I understand she's like the main character in it, but there's two that came from District 12, isn't there? So why wasn't he given as much, don't know, as importance as her? They just kind of felt like he was undervalued, undersold on what he could bring to the table. They said he was strong in the film. You didn't really get to see his part set as well. So when they did the training and things, it was all Katniss. It was all what she could do, what she could bring to the table. Peter was the last one to be brought into that. His performances weren't shown on screen. so we didn't really know what he was capable of doing. So I felt that was a bit crap. In terms of performances, I do think Jennifer Lawrence was good in it. I didn't realise this was a first kind of movie as such.
To my knowledge, this is where she became well known. I could be
Right.
wrong.
Well, she was in an indie movie. What was it called? And nominated for an Oscar like the year before. What was it? I never saw it because it's not my cup of tea. But I think that was like her first breakout like role.
This is the first time I'd ever heard of her, and I actually really like her as an actress.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen a lot of her films.
I think this is like her big Hollywood role.
Yeah.
Like, outside the indie scene.
And then she went into X-Men after that.
Mm-hmm.
I've seen her first of all in American Hustle.
Yeah.
Good film. That's the first time I've seen her in that.
She was in Joy as well, the one where she was selling like the mop.
I really like Joy. I really like that story.
Okay, so you liked Jennifer Lawrence, weren't as keen on Josh Hutcherson. I think going back to what you said. Sorry, James, when you go.
So it's not the actor's fault though.
Aye. You think the character wasn't maybe given enough?
No, and just to put in as well, I think Woody Harrelson was great in it as well. He was just kind of he was kind of the comedic part of it as well. I thought he was good. He brought a lot of balance to things. He was funny as well, so it was good.
He's always been my favorite character in Hunger Games. I think just when you first meet him, he's a down and out. He's not interested. He's just there for the booze. But across the film and across the franchise, you see a really kind of caring side to him, and he's actually quite smart as well. And he kind of knows what to do to get like the sponsors and to ultimately help the candidates to win. So that was just a wee bit of chat around the cast. I've got a few kind of themes and questions just to kind of ping at you. So we'll start with Marie. So this is to do with like putting you in the mind of being a contestant within the games. Okay. So how do you think you would do? So your number's called. You're having to go and represent. How do you think you would get on in the Hunger Games?
I think I would be dead. I mean, I'm not too bad with a bow and arrow either. I have to say. I don't know. It's a very interesting thing because it's like also a class system. Like you've got the careers from District 1 and 2 who are practically like from the capital and training. I like to think like if I knew there was a chance that I would be like reaped into the like I would be called. I would do some training beforehand, even though it's specified in the books that you're no allowed to. But I feel like I am quite sneaky. I can hide. I'm very good at hiding. So I think I would just like leg it and wait it all out, like wait everyone to kill each other and do the sneaking blow. The only thing that I ever like come close to this is like when I was in horseback riding camp, where I learned to shoot a bow and arrow from a horse. We did something that we called numbers war, where we basically had like a number on your forehead, and if someone read your number, you would die. And I was really good at hiding, and it was like capture the flag as well. So you would either win if you killed everyone or if you captured the flag. And yeah, I was always the one like sneaking around and trying to capture the flag and like sneaking it across the territory. But let's be honest, I mean, like I've got the physicality of an old potato. Like I'd be dead.
Well, before James jumps in, I'm just going to say I'd be probably the first one out because I was always useless at Call of Duty online. I'm horrendous at Laser Quest. I'm horrendous at paintball, which I'll never do paintball again. I got shot somewhere that you don't want to get shot. I'm never doing it again. So never invite me. Nah, I'm not. I would be gone. I'd be gone. Like like the red shirts that you lose in the first like minute of the contest. That's me. That's what I would be. What about you, James? How do you think you would have got on?
Well, mate, it's no surprise to you, mate, that I would win it. I would win the thing.
Both of us out.
two reasons, mate. There's two reasons why I'd win it, right? Because unlike you, I was good at laser quest. I was also good at paintball, right? I would make sure that I went up in high ground and just kind of take out the people that need to be done, right? My sniper rifle, weapon of choice, and just take out people, right? When the inevitable happens where man a sniper rifle and as the games get, it's like the ground gets smaller. I grew up in the east end of Glasgow, mate, so I'm very good with my bare hands as well. So anyone who comes near me, they're getting it. So I'm quite confident, mate, I would win.
With that kind of arrogance, though, would you get a lot of what do you call them? Sponsors.
Well, I don't know. I don't really care, mate, to be honest with you.
Well, you can't get a sniper rifle without a sponsor. Like,
well, I would do what needs to be done to get a sniper rifle, and then I would just I would get something. I would have to play nice at the start, I suppose, right? Right. I need to play it like just play the game. David Peter does, you know what I mean, and just play the game. And then as soon as I'm in there, I get my sniper rifle. Well, people are getting taken out, mate.
I would keep your views on the Hunger Games to yourself, though, because Snow might try and get you assassinated before it begins.
Well, you're forgetting who Snow's son is, Big Jack Bibber. Jack Bibber was one of my mentors. Kiefer Sutherland. You don't? No.
I know who he is, yeah.
Right,
I know who he is. He was in The Designated Survivor.
Let's not talk about that, please.
Well, because it got cancelled.
Well, we know that. Kiefer Sutherland opted to do that show rather than do another 24 series. Which
I actually did want to give 24 a go, but the sheer volume of episodes put me off giving it a go.
Soon, you should do a pilot episode of that, because as soon as you watch it, mate, you will want to continue watching it. Honestly,
okay.
It's one of those TV shows.
We can keep that. We can keep that one going anyway. Right, the second question, just kind of keeping in that kind of theme.
There's more questions.
So discussion points.
Okay.
The big kind of catalyst for this film was the fact that Katniss's sister was chosen, and then Katniss uttered the iconic line, "I volunteer as tribute," which I use that line a lot just in everyday conversation when it becomes relevant. So my question is, we'll start with Marie. If someone you love was chosen, would you volunteer to go in their place? If say you were in this world, or would you just let them go for it? Honest answers only.
I seem like a horrible person. I mean, it depends. If the person itself has like a shot of winning, then yeah, let them do it. Let them like as I said, I don't think I would have like a lot to contribute. I don't know. I mean, maybe in the context of the world, yes, maybe I would volunteer if it was like a little sister. I only have an older brother, and trust me, I think he would do a lot better than I would. So I don't know, but yeah, if it's to save someone younger, probably I think so. I don't know. No, I feel like if I was in this world, I would be one of the stylists. Like, that's I would be like Cinna's right-hand woman. Like, I don't, but if I was born in districts, maybe I don't know. I only if I have to. I'm very lazy.
I don't think you're going to volunteer.
If the
you
person
just said if you had to.
I mean, it depends. If the person has ever littered in their life, no, they're dead. Like, if I've seen them put like something like the wrong plastic in the recycling bin, gone.
James is out then.
If they ever bought anything from Shein, dead.
That's Paul out.
Yeah.
James, what about you? Are you volunteering?
I think it depends who you're volunteering for. Do you know what I mean? Like,
what if it was me or Paul?
I'm pretty sure you two can handle yourself. So, well, Paul can handle himself better than you, I reckon, right? But
I'm okay with it.
Aye. If it's my younger brother, who's 4 years younger than me, I'm pretty sure he could handle himself. So I'm like, right, see you after, pal. See when you come back out. See you on the other side.
See you in another life, brother.
I think I don't have any sisters as such, so it would depend. Like young, like as what he said, it was somebody younger than you and was more vulnerable. Then I think you would be inclined to, volunteer yourself, because I don't know how old Prim was. I can't remember if he even said it or not. But
She just turned 12.
right, okay. So she still get a few. I mean, she would be defenceless out there. Let's be honest. But Katniss did hunting and all that sort of stuff before on, which I don't agree with, by the way. I'm going to come on to that. She was hunting deer. That's ridiculous. Anyway, moving on.
Even if you're starving?
Aye. There's other things out there, surely.
James, remember our conversation about sharks last week? we reviewed Jaws last week. We haven't released it yet, but there was a big discussion on the morality of hunting sharks.
Anyway, I'm quite good at going through different tangents here, so I would volunteer if it was somebody who was vulnerable and younger than me. Yes.
Okay. What did you make? This is just an open question. What did you make of that scene in general? Do you think it played out quite well in the movie?
I think it did. I mean, it's difficult because the books are written from Katniss's perspective. Like, it's all first person, so like it plays out a bit. It plays out the same, but it just like visually it's different. But I think it is, and I think now it's become, as you said, a bit of a meme. Like,
yeah, definitely. So we were talking a wee bit earlier about the fact there's the different districts and the different kind of class inequalities. What was your? We'll go to James with that one. So, what was your take on that, James, in terms of like how it was kind of divided up into the different districts? Did you think that was quite an interesting concept?
I do.
Was it something you've seen before?
I think I've kind of seen it in different ways. I do like the fact that it has divided it in such a way that there's like, as we were touched on there, there's people who are starving, who are struggling every single day to put food on the table, to just get by in life. Whereas if you go to different districts and stuff, it's not like that. It's, you don't really see it in great detail, but you know it's there. So the class divide, I think, it's quite important for the film to materialise, isn't it? Because it shows you how people are living and what people would do to survive, really.
Yeah, because you see that Katniss has got to be like the strong one in her family, because there was a few scenes with her mum. So they show a flashback where the dad died in a mining incident, and the mum basically fell to pieces thereafter. So there's a few scenes where Katniss's mum's trying to comfort the wee sister Prim, but Katniss kind of just like pushes her out the way. Marie, what did you make about the kind of dynamic with Katniss's mum?
Yeah, I mean, it's like, I mean, I understand, because like she basically disappeared when their dad died, and like she was meant to be the main provider of the family, but like just completely fell apart. I mean, understandable, if someone you love you lose, but at the same time I'm not a parent, so I cannot say like you have to show up and be there for your children. And it is more explored in the book how like Katniss found her, like became the provider of the family, and like but they went through like a pretty dark time. But I think it is kind of well shown in the movies. We don't get that kind of information right away. I think we get it later on in the story than we do in the books. But I think like at first, like like without knowing the context, Katniss does seem like cold and like maybe even a moody teenager. But then when you realize the context of like that her mom practically abandoned them without actually physically abandoning them in this harsh world, her feelings do make sense.
Because her mum, I think, was a nurse. If I'm
Like
right in saying,
yeah,
something like
they're
that.
like equivalent to a healer. Like
Yeah.
yeah.
Because there's a wee scene in the second movie where the mum is starting to kind of come back a wee bit, and she's starting to help out when certain characters are injured. So that was good to see. There's a wee bit of an arc there. So those were just a few questions I wanted to kind of ponder. There's a few more as we go along, but I think it'd be good to just get into the kind of dissection of the film a bit more, just in terms of what we like, what we didn't like. Because although I'm a big fan of the franchise, my most recent rewatching of this one, I didn't hold up maybe as well as I remember this film specifically. Catching Fire does. I know you've got your views. We might hear those in the future, but I think starting off positive is good. So I'm coming to Big Mitch himself. So James, I would hope, and if there isn't, totally fine. What were the aspects of the film that you enjoyed, if there was any?
And he came to me first with this.
Aye.
Things I enjoyed. Right, okay. I'm just trying to think back now to in chronological order here. So, see, we're talking about is it the raping, isn't it, when they all get selected? So I did like that aspect. Like you could tell the nervousness of them all, and I think we weren't really sure what's going on at that point. Like what's going on, and then eventually you get the video from President Snow explains why this is happening. I do like the nervousness between everybody. Like it's a kind of ballot who's getting picked out, who's going to be the representatives of the district. I did like that kind of tension building for that scene. When I did like the bit as well when they first meet Big Mitch. When they first meet Big Mitch. Was it on the train, isn't it? And he had breakfast.
Yeah.
When he had breakfast. And he's talking to Peter, and he's asking questions and things, and then Katniss comes in, she sits down, he refuses to answer the question, and she like gets the knife, the kind of butter knife, whatever it is, and so there's good tension there like that because there's a wee bit of mystery about Haymitch. Like you could tell he's an alcoholic, he's obviously got past trauma and all that sort of thing. So I did like that introduction to him. I think the games in general were good. I think there wasn't enough of them. Well, for me, there wasn't enough in-game, action. And I'll come on to that from my cons in a wee second. But I did like what I did see in there, the kind of running about, the hiding and the action, the relationships being built between the characters were all good. Especially is it Rue?
Yeah.
So that was good kind of relationships there between Rue and Katniss formed there. I think that's maybe about it. If anything wants to come back to me, mate, I'll
I think that's why it's important to, if we all kind of just share the things we like, because then we'll be able to kind of bounce off those things. So, Marie, is there anything you'd like to add to what James said in terms of the things you liked about this specific? It's hard for us, I think, because we know the wider story and the books, but just based on this film specifically, what are the kind of main things you enjoyed?
I really do like I really like the beginning. I think it's a very strong start to a film. And I also really like how they depicted District 12. And I think the music as well is really good. The soundtrack to this movie is really good and it works really well. And I do like the District 12 costumes. I think overall, it's a very close adaptation to the books, with some exceptions, but we're talking positives now. And I think my favorite does have to be Effie Trinket. I think like Elizabeth Banks nails her, and she is my favorite part of the movie. And I I also like that we got a little bit more because the books are from Katniss's perspective, so I like that we got a bit of more behind the scenes of the Hunger Games itself, that we got like the game masters and like how they actually
Yeah.
control the games, even though that gets a bit goofy, but we're talking positives. But so I do like that, and there is like one scene that I really like, and it's and because it wouldn't be in the books because like the books are always in Katniss's perspective, but I do love the scene where Katniss is in the games and she's like struggling, and then Hamish finally decides to step up and help her. And I think that is such a powerful moment, and it adds to the story so well of him actually like talking to sponsors, trying to sell them, trying to get her the things that she actually needs. And I really like those moments where we just get a bit more behind the scenes perspective of the games.
Yeah, no, that's good because it reminds me of the scene with Snow and Seneca Crane, the game master, when they're in like the garden and he's picking the flowers, and he's kind of he's warning them basically that they need to like sort Katniss out because all the people are starting to like her. So just to kind of rip off that, I really liked I like the kind of like PR parts of the series, like when they have like the Caesar Flickerman, the kind of game show host. He's one of my favorite characters. He's just, I think what they do well is someone like him and Cinna and Hamish to an extent, they've got the riches, they should not care, but there's a lot of humanity that comes from like Caesar and Effie, and you see over this film and the series as a whole that they start to really care about Peeta and about Katniss, and I like that aspect of it because see when you see the crowd that are like at Caesar's event, they're all just so sadistic. They're just clapping, and they're all these grown adults are just absolutely buzzing to see all these kids fight each other, and it's like, it's nice to see the other side of that when they're not all bad. I would also echo what you said, Marie, about the music. There's a lot of memorable songs from this. Again, this is Catching Fire, but the closing credits song for Catching Fire is Atlas by Coldplay, and it was the first time I'd heard the song, which is a really good song. You get my Coldplay mention in there. And the song, is it in this one or is it in the other one? You know, the Hanging Tree song?
Yeah, that's the third one. The third movie.
Oh, right, because that they basically kind of remixed that.
Colin.
They're all merging together. They basically remixed that into like a kind of popular mainstream song, if you know the one I mean. So yeah, I like the music. I think Jennifer Lawrence gives a really good performance. Woody Harrelson, as we mentioned. I just like the premise. See, just people getting chosen at random, thrown into this arena, not knowing what's going on. There's a few negatives about the arena. James mentioned maybe there could have been more action. That's something we can talk about. And there's a few changes from the books in the arena, which again is worth mentioning. But that was just some of the things that I liked. So this is James's moment to shine. He's been pulled onto the stage with Caesar Flickerman. He's talked about the things he likes. I think, James, as we go back to the very start of our episode, you kind of immediately weren't that keen on the concept because of other films you'd seen and maybe like, which I didn't have, and that kind of perceives that kind of similarity. So I'd be interested to see what your kind of things you didn't like about the film were.
Right, okay. I'm giving it all this and that, but really it's only kind of one main aspect of it that I didn't particularly like. I want to touch on the bit. What I mean by it's like a rip off of The Running Man. The Running Man is I almost watched like a film, but it's actually a book by Stephen King under the name of Richard Bachman. I read it years and years ago, and The Running Man was a concept that all the ex-cons were selected to go on this game show and were hunted by killers essentially, and the book is a lot different from the film, but the film is tremendous. And you've not seen Battle Royale, have you?
No.
No, okay, but it's a Japanese film, Japanese, and basically, as Marie said at the start, it's just like it's an arena of kids killing each other, pretty much. It's been a while since I've seen that, but really put the two of them together, and again, a dystopian future. It just kind of put the two of them together, and it churns out Hunger Games for me. And I can't get that out of my head because that's what as soon as I watched it, I already had that preconception that that's what it was, and it kind of turned out to be that. I did like the idea. I know we're talking about the bad things here, but I want to go back a little bit. I did like the PR bits with the game show, the host and stuff like that, the talk show, and that was good. Humanity brought into it. That was good with Lenny Kravitz' character. Can't remember his name now. Sinner, is it?
Sinner, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. He brought a bit of kindness to his character. He wanted to help out. So there was aspects that not everyone was out to, let's just put them into arena, kill each other type thing. There was a bit of humanity brought to it. So it's important to touch on that because it wasn't all bad guys in this. But in terms of the arena itself, I thought, now I don't know, I've never read the books, as I said. I don't know what it's like in the books in terms of the killings and all that, but I felt it was quite watered down. I felt there could have been a lot more gore in it. I think it was a 12, I can't remember, or PG-13, or whatever it may be. I don't know.
Not 100%
But I think,
sure.
I mean, I don't know if the books had the action, the kills a lot more gorier, and that should have been represented in the film.
It's PG-13.
Well, that makes sense then, because if they couldn't have done that.
I think it's maybe to do with their target audience, I suppose.
Yeah.
Like if they're wanting to target it at like young adult readers who like the series, I suppose they need to have that.
I know, but what I'm trying to say is I don't know if the book had a lot more kind of in-depth like gore in it. I don't know if that was represented in the film itself. For me, I expected a wee bit more. Granted, I didn't know what it was, PG-13, whatever, or 15. I just thought there's a wee bit kind of. I was expecting a wee bit more kind of in terms of the deaths and stuff like that. I just at the same time I felt it was slow. Like there was a lot of background in the start of it. Like the briefing part was necessary, of course it was, but could they have slimmed down all the training exercises? Could they have slowed down or cut out some of the stuff with the talk shows? Even when they entered the arena, when she was in a carriage with her on fire and things, was that necessary? Did they have to show all of that? For me, Hunger Games about being Hunger Games. It should have been about the actual survival in the arena itself, rather than all the crap that came before it. And I felt it because of that stuff at the start. We didn't get enough in the arena, and probably didn't get a lot at the end either, because it felt kind of rushed at the end with the berries, and then it was like, they're tuning the winners now, and let's put them back in the train back to District 12, and then you've seen. I don't want to call him Jon Snow there, but President Snow.
Jon Snow.
Jon Snow.
No, nothing.
It just felt rushed at the end because of probably what happened at the start. Could have cut it out a little bit. I don't know.
I get what you're saying. I do disagree to an extent. Like I get why you would feel like that, but I think when you look at the kind of series as a whole, the interviews and the PR, it becomes like a huge thing as the series goes on. It's all about building the image, and Katniss becoming that kind of beacon of hope for the districts. So I understand why you think that, just basing it on like a standalone film.
Mm-hmm.
But in the grander scheme of things, the interviews and the promotion and the dresses is a big part of, because she is quite sarky and not particularly likable, but by creating the dresses and the fabricating the kind of the love triangle and the relationships with Peter, which we'll get to. That's kind of how they helped her win, essentially, I would say.
Aye, maybe. I mean, I think that I don't know if the PR did really help her win, because she was very what's the word, forthcoming in a lot of them. I think near the end of it, where she did that kind of twirly thing, and she did a kind of twirl in a dress with a fire, pirouette, whatever you call it. But it was mainly Peter that was doing all the kind of, I don't know, the talking and all that sort of stuff. He was the kind of the I don't know the word I'm trying to think of here. But people weren't even taking notice there, like, and even the training exercise. It was when she shot that apple, and they all took notice. And that's when she got the score of 11, I think it was.
I was wondering, was that 11 out of 10 she got?
No, it's out of 12.
Is that 12?
12 districts.
Right. Oh, okay.
Even I got that one, Colin. Come on. So I don't know. I understand what you're saying. I just, like, maybe it did. I'm only going off of this film as well. Do you know what I mean? I don't know what happens in 2 and 3 and 4 or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But, or the prequel. For me, the film could have done this one through this to now. I just felt it could have been fast forwarded a wee bit at the start, more action, and then a wee bit more at the end, rather than, hey, bye, see you after in the train, bye. That's what it felt like to me.
Cool. Well, thanks for sharing, James. Marie, what about you? What you seem to not be as keen on this one as maybe you were in the past. So what were the things that made you feel that way?
I mean, I think it was, I mean, I do overall like it, but I do have to, like, I think James's assessment is fine. You can enjoy the book as its own, and that is a valid, like, point of view. But of course, as someone who's read the books, I'm also judging it as a book reader. And it, like, Peeta's character assassination just bugs the hell out of me. Because boy, did they do him dirty. I mean, James mentioned that scene of the train with Katniss and the butter knife. What they left out is that Peeta actually punches Hamish in the face during that scene as well. Like, that the fact that Peeta was the aggressor in that moment, and then Katniss slams down the butter knife to go, oh, like, now you're gonna stop. So and like, because they include the first parts, but then they never, like, follow through. Like, there's a moment where when they arrive into the capital, and, like, Peeta is, like, waving at all the people, and, like, in the book, like, Katniss is thinking, oh god, like, what an idiot, he's, like, sucking up to the people who are, like, basically trying to kill us, who want to see us dead. But then Peeta makes a comment just like, well, you never know, they might have deep wallets. But you never get that in the movie. You never get that context. And I spoke about this on Twitter when we spoke about the Hunger Games, and it's just this running theme of, like, when you have a female lead, they make the male lead seem completely incompetent to make her seem more powerful, more like strong, independent woman. And I hate it so much. Like, Katniss is awesome. You don't need to make Peeta a wet blanket to prove that. It's like, and there's so many other moments, like for example, when she does find him when he gets injured, but then, like, when she cleans him up, it's quite a long scene in the book. He's, like, making quite, like, a lot of, like, flirtatious jokes during this, and, like, playing it up for the cameras. In the movies, he basically just lies there and suffers. Like, it's so I don't like that. And it's, I think, not something that I noticed as a teenager, but, like, as an adult, and also now who like watches quite a lot of film and media, it's just something that drives me crazy.
Mm-hmm. No, that's a fair assessment. I must admit, I haven't read the original trilogy books in so long that there's not a lot of like differences I can really remember. There is one though, And I think this would have worked or could have worked really well in the film. You know, the kind of the hounds, the dogs at the end. In the books, they had like I don't know how they did it, but they had like the faces of the fallen tributes. So there was like one with like Rue's face and things like that, which would really have kind of upped the kind of horror level and would have been quite cool in the film. But they just decided to make them like generic dogs that.
And like put them in the complete dark. We don't see anything during that scene.
When I watched that scene last night, I remember thinking back to that bit in the book, and I was like, see if they'd actually done that and put like dead children's faces on those dogs, like because they're like genetically enhanced, like the wasps are. I think that could have played out a lot better.
Yeah, because I think the books, because James asked about the gore, but it's more about the psychological horror than the actual like physical horror, because I think because of the young adult like target audience. So it's more like how we can manipulate the environment to fuck these kids up mentally as well. And I do agree, that was a missed opportunity, but like that scene in the entire movie is just in pure darkness and shaky cam. You have no idea what's going on.
I think, sorry to try and chime in here, but see if that scene in the train where Peter punches Hamish should have been a lot better. It would have gave him a bit more stature. And because, like, I agree with you as well, Marie. Like, you don't have to have the male kind of within the film to have no do anything for the woman to shine. Peter could have still have hit Hamish, and Katniss could have still have done what she done. Do you know what I mean? I think it gave his character more purpose. I think in more direction, where he just seemed like a quiet boy. He was shy. He wouldn't say boot a goose. Do you know what I mean? He wouldn't. But in the book, so you're saying he's a different person. So it's a shame they did that, and I'm gutted they didn't put the children's faces on the dogs, by the way, if that's what happened in the books, because that would have been so much better and so much going oof. Like, that's terrifying. And like that scene was a little bit kind of too dark anyway. Put me in mind the Game of Thrones second last episode or something like that. It was just the fight in the darkness. You couldn't see anything. I mean, you could just about make out the dogs and stuff that were jumping on the bus. Can't remember now.
The cornucopia.
Yeah. But aye. Sorry, I just wanted to chime in. Those 2 points would have been made my score a lot higher if I seen something like that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, it's hard. Yeah.
And you were talking about like the ending being rushed and I thought this movie was shorter than it is, but when I looked it up, it's like a 2-hour 20 runtime. But like in the books, there's like a lot more that they like. You learn about the fallout, how like the consequences that there are 2 victors is really, really bad. And then on the train as well, there is like a heartbreaking moment between Peeta and Katniss, because in the movie, I think they kind of make it look like he knows that it's for the cameras. But in the books, he genuinely believed that like the girl that he's been crushing on his entire life had the exact same feelings for him. And like the moment he learns in the books that it's all a game is just like it's really heartbreaking. And it's also like there's another like, and I think this plays more into book 2 and book 2, but in book 2 and book in the movie, in the second movie, but also like when it comes to like sharing critical information, like the characters are so careful because the capital is always listening. They're always being watched. So Hamish is like really, really careful about this and always making sure like they're out of sight. And in the movie, they're just like talking freely everywhere. And it's just also like drives me crazy. I'm like, no, you're being observed the entire time. Stop it. It becomes more of an issue in Catching Fire, but it's also another aspect that really bugs me.
Surprised they didn't do the thing that footballers do whenever they're on the telly. Covering their faces.
I'm going to hit the free kick. I'm going to put it up top one.
It just looks ridiculous, doesn't it? I'm trying to think I think they still did, and I think James still did. I think they still did although she doesn't get a lot of time with her in the movie. The Rue scenes still hits quite hard. I think when she dies and Katniss kind of sings the song and lays the flowers. I still think that bit worked pretty well.
It does, and
Because she views her as like a prim kind of substitute, like as a kind of wee sister. So yeah, I thought that bit was one of the kind of standout scenes in the movie.
I also always forget that baby Jack Quaid is in this movie until I watch it again.
I clocked that this time round because I watched like some of The Boys and then I kind of gave it up. But
Why'd you give it up?
Because there was a scene that really just put me off my dinner, and I just I couldn't go back to it.
I mean, that could be nearly every scene.
It was the one with the what do you call it? The gills.
The gills. Oh, well, there's a lot of scenes, but okay, yeah, I think I know.
I don't know. I've been tempted
It's
to
not.
give it another
It's not
go,
for
but
everyone. Like, yeah, I'm a massive fan of The Boys, but it's not for
think
everyone.
It's just a wee bit out of my like taste, maybe.
Yeah, fair enough. Fair enough. I honestly feel always a bit weird talking about The Boys, and they're like.
Did you watch that, James?
Yeah, what? I was seeing any of the season. No.
Did you clock him in as one of the tributes?
Yeah.
I hadn't noticed that before. Actually, I must admit. I love random things like that. Like, see when you just spot characters.
Like famous actors who just had like a minor role in like a movie.
One of my this is a total tangent, but any of you watched Gavin and Stacey?
No.
No,
that's just totally
I know of it.
Doesn't matter. Anyway, doesn't matter. Totally besides the point. Any closing thoughts before we do our end of podcast quiz in terms of the good, the bad, and the ugly? Anything we've not
for me, man.
I think overall, I mean, you read all those stats at the beginning, and I think that's overall a fair assessment. Like, I think it's like it's not it's not the greatest movie of all time, but it's definitely not bad, I think. And I feel weird saying that this is one of my comfort films. Do you know, giving the context?
I get it.
But because it does still remind me of like being a teenager, which I don't actually like being reminded of. I didn't have the best time of it, but still, it's those that like, when I did think love triangles were a completely problematic thing. And other than like the few things that dated, like the costumes, I'll rant one more thing about the costumes, because the chariot fire scene where they're like first being seen, I'm not saying I'm the greatest fashion designer of all time, but I could have done it better. Like, they just like covered them in CG flames. Like, I could have done it better. Like, I think I could have designed something better than that. But and the hair doesn't work. It's
well, if they ever do a reboot, then you never know.
Oh yeah, I'd be submitting my portfolio. I mean, that's a question. Like, do you think this would work better as a series than a movie?
No, I don't think so. Personally.
Interesting.
It'll come soon, though, because they're making the Harry Potter series, aren't they? So, Hunger Games series will happen soon.
I'm really mixed about that, I must admit.
I'm completely against that.
Some things should be left untouched, I've said to you before.
Something that something we didn't touch on actually was Liam Hemsworth as Gale, and I must admit I find him quite quite forgettable in that role.
Yeah, I mean, he's the lesser Hemsworth.
There's a third Hemsworth, isn't there?
Yes, he is. Yeah. You see him in Thor Ragnarok.
Yeah. It's don't know. What I remember Gale in the books, I think Gale was a lot like stronger and more like of a leader. He just seems quite.
Sad boy.
He just gets jealous of Katniss quite a lot.
Mm-hmm. There's a lot of like moping scenes of him in a field.
See, when you watch it, like at this age, like Peter was so like needy, wasn't he? Like he was like he said to Katniss, he's like, I watched you walk home every day, and it's like it's just stalker alert. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly. That falls like what I talked about. Like as 16, that sounds romantic. As an adult, that is creepy.
Right. Before we get into the quiz, something we like to do, maybe remember from last time. We haven't thought of a better name yet, but we like to do our seismic stars. So it's a rating out of 10, and it's a rating for just this film on its own. So forgetting the books, forgetting the sequels, the prequels, not comparing it to other films. How would you rate this one? And you can do like 0.5s. That's something that we tend to kind of lean in on. So I think we'll save James for last this time round. So, Marie, in the 2024, what would you give The Hunger Games out of 10?
I think I would still give it a 7 out of 10.
Okay. I've actually written down, I was kind of between 7 and 8 because I didn't enjoy it as much this time round. And it's interesting. I don't think he would ever do it. But a lot of James's dislikes about this one, I think Catching Fire has more action, has more stakes, has more violence. I don't know if he ever would. And if he doesn't, that's totally fine. But I generally think Catching Fire is the strongest in the series. And I think it actually ticks a lot of the boxes that James was talking about. That's just an aside. I gave it 7.5. I took points off. The shaky cam was more noticeable this time. Hasn't maybe aged that well. I think Catching Fire, again, I will need to do a podcast on that, has aged a lot better. So I gave it 7.5. Which is maybe lower than James would have thought I would have given it. But.
No, I thought you'd give it 8, to be honest with you. I thought you were going to be an 8. Solid 8.
I think in the past I've given it maybe 8, 8.5, but I think that viewing it maybe dropped down a wee bit.
Right.
Just I can't quite I think it maybe is just how it's aged, and that end scene we're talking about with the dogs and things like that as well. So, James away.
I'm going to give it 5 out of 10.
It's not as bad as I thought you might have given it.
All right, okay. Do you want me to tell you why?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. I felt like I've touched on it already anyway, but I'll basically summarise here. It was too long at the start, not enough action. The end felt rushed. Again, this is just from my point of view. I felt that the action scenes, even though not enough of it, they could be enhanced a wee bit more with the more gore and things. I understand what I said about the book; it didn't really have it, more psychological, but I still want to see that. And it's a rip-off of The Running Man and the Battle Royale, which I cannot shake. I'm sorry, but it is.
I'm kind of against that argument. I think Battle Royale, now we call it a Battle Royale style movie. I think yes, but like those types of stories like go back to like Greek mythology, like people trying to fight it out in an arena. And I think if you have you can still take the story, and if you have like an original spin to it, you can still make it interesting. But I do admit I'm looking at this with nostalgia in the goggles and book goggles.
I think that's a good point. I think we've both watched this like in the early 2010s, whereas James watched it last night. So I think there is a real. I think if James,
we were the target demographic.
I think maybe if James had watched it when he was in his early 20s, maybe it's something he would have got into. Maybe not.
19 years ago.
I think it is. Movie is subjective. Is why we do what we do, but it's also the entrance point is important. Like sometimes you watch something now and you get really into it. Like I watched, we reviewed Starship Troopers not that long ago, and I loved that film, and I keep recommending it to people that haven't seen it. but like I didn't see that when it first came out. Do you know what I mean? So we talked about Jaws when maybe watched it when we were kids and then didn't watch it for years and watched it like over the last couple of years. And I think every time we could review Hunger Games in 3 weeks' time, and I would probably have a slightly different perspective on it just based on that viewing. So I think every time you have those thoughts.
I don't know if I will watch the second and third one. To be honest,
I've at least intrigued you a wee bit with the second one.
Not really, no.
It's a shame because I'm not actually sure, but I'm not actually sure if Marie wants to share her brief thoughts on the second one, but I really enjoy the second one personally.
I like the movie. I have the second book. I mean, in the context of the book, the second one is almost a rehash of the first one. This works really well in the movies because they can basically fix all the things that they did wrong in the first one. So like the shaky cam, like the pacing, they basically had the chance to do a do-over, which works really well in the movies. In the books, I was less annoyed about this the second time I read it, but I still remember as like a teenager, I felt really cheated. And honestly, like my pitch for the second book, which I think I think the second book should have been Katniss and Peeta as mentors and mentoring their trainees. And then because in the books, you don't get any like the behind the scenes of the Hunger Games. So I would have really liked to see that in the books mentoring their trainees. And obviously with the knowledge that two mentors won two tributes won last year, only one of them could survive this year, and maybe neither of them survive. And that also gives a better context towards Hamish, because Hamish seems like a massive asshole in the books, but like if you think about it, he had to watch kids die year after year after year after year, and because he's the only ever winner of District 12, he's the only one they got. So that's why he became jaded and drunk, and I think that would have given it a perspective. So that's like my issue with the second Hunger Games books. I also think the first book works really well as a one-shot. I think if they would have left the series there as well, I would have been happy. But like for the sequel, yeah, that's what I would have wanted to see.
I get what you're saying, and it's a good idea. I suppose you get some of that with the prequel because you get Snow being the mentor.
Yeah, I don't want sexy Snow.
I do disagree though, because I really liked the twist in the second one and where it went.
That could still be the third book. Like, I don't know.
Anyway, we're going off. Probably James isn't joining us on the journey, so we tried our best.
So you finished it? I've just woken up.
Anyway,
I mean, the second one, the second book does have a leg up because it has Finnick. Like,
yeah, he's a good character, right enough. Right. I'll see how I'm feeling towards James in terms of what questions I fire at him, right?
Oh, don't do any favouritism here, mate. Just I'll take it as no. I'm already.
Yeah. As I said, I didn't know about this. I didn't have a chance to study.
I meant I was going to give you the harder questions.
Oh, that's fair enough. That's fine. You just want me to get a deal.
Yeah, maybe. Right. Okay. Marie will get the first question. James will get the second question, right? Some of them are really easy. Some of them are really medium. Some of them are really hard. Apparently, one of them I can't actually read my writing for the answer, so I need to Google that one.
Nice.
Right, question one, and that's for
Marie.
James. No, Marie.
I thought Marie's went first.
Right, Marie. Question one. Aye, I did. It's getting late. Come on. Right, question one. What district is Katniss from? Nice low ball one to start with.
12.
12. 1 point on the mark. Right. James.
Yes.
Hi. Right. Who is the male tribute from District 12?
Peter.
Full name.
Oh, you're joking me.
I'm joking. But do you know his surname?
Maillard or something, is it no?
Not far off. Malark.
Oh well.
Okay, that's 1-1. Right. Marie, you can go for the full name because you should know it. So, who is Katniss Everdeen's best friend? What's the name of Katniss's best friend?
Oh, Gale. Oh God, what is his last name? I have no idea what his last name is.
I'll give you it anyway. I gave James it for
Aye.
the one name. So,
I don't want to say
is, it
names.
is it not Hawthorne?
Is it? Do they ever mention his last name?
They do in the books, I think.
Are you making this
So
up?
you're having me doubt myself.
Does he have a last name?
Yeah, Gale Hawthorne.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize. I mean, he's a second love interest, but I didn't think he was important enough for over last name.
I'd say he's quite important across the series. Right, James. Well, what is the name of Katniss's stylist?
I said his name earlier on, did I not?
Aye. You did.
Sinner.
Correct. 2 for 2. Right, Marie will definitely get this one. Who is the escort for the District 12 tributes?
Effie Trinket.
Yep. Top tier character. And James, you should get this one. You will get this one. They're not particularly difficult questions. Who is the president of Panem?
President Snow.
Do you know his first name?
Jon Snow.
It's like Coriolanus or something like that.
Yeah.
That's
did
not
they mention
mentioned.
it in the film? Did they mention that?
It's not mentioned in the films.
Right.
I wasn't expecting it. Right, that's 3-3 then. Right, number 4. Right, again, we'll get all these. It's all good, or most of them. Marie, what score did Katniss get during the training scene?
An 11.
Yep, we mentioned that. And James, how many tributes participate in the games?
24.
Correct. So it's 4-4. Marie, what is the name of the poison berries that they have to eat?
Is it Nightlock?
I can't even read my writing. Hold on. Something like that, yeah.
Really something like that. Is it I? Is it no?
It's
Right.
Nightlock. Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go. It looked kind of like that on my board.
Well,
and
I'm
James,
glad you got that question because I would have got that.
you could tie this here.
Right.
What is the name of Katniss's sister?
Prim.
Yeah, we'll just call it a draw.
I mean, that's technically not her full name.
I'll accept Prim.
There has to be a winner though. There has to be a winner.
Okay. We'll get a tiebreaker question. Right, how did we decide this before, James? How did we decide who got to answer? Do you remember?
What was it? We say their names, do we not?
Aye, say your own name, and then if the first person to say their own name gets to answer.
The street names.
Nah, like your actual first name.
Right. Okay. It's easy to say then. What is here?
Let's build some suspense. Will I find a question? I probably should have. I usually have a tiebreaker question, but James was so despondent about his chances that I didn't think I needed one.
To be fair, I mean, you were pretty favourable to us. I think you were okay.
Right.
Although I'm glad I didn't get the
here's a good question. What is the name of the last tribute to die before the two winners won? So it was like the last person standing.
James,
what's the answer?
is it not? Is it the kind of the boy Kato?
Oh, last minute winner.
I'm not good on the spot.
Oh, sorry.
I
also remember that scene though, because it's like, for me, that scene is like, have you ever seen Speed?
Not yet.
Film Speed? No, it doesn't matter then.
That's how I felt when I was talking about my Gavin and Stacey reference.
It's like that scene in Speed anyway, but so I remember that.
Oh well. There you go. So to the victor goes the spoils.
Good game.
That's not the saying, is it?
To the victor, I don't know.
Belongs the spoils? I don't know. Anyway. Right, so that was our Hunger Games review. So big thank you to Marie from Two Girls, One Reusable Cup. I totally didn't check it again.
It's okay. It's a long name.
Thanks for joining us. Make sure you check out their podcast and like and subscribe. And also, if you want to, check out Seismic Cinema. Recent things we've looked at. We did a Suits pilot, we did a Lost pilot, and we did a review of Jaws. And we've got some other movies coming up in the near future. And yeah, so thank you for listening, and may the odds be ever in your favor.